My name's Gill Hatcher and I'm a cartoonist. I've been drawing for as long as I can remember, and also making up silly stories, usually about animals and that kind of thing. And then when I was in high school, I started to draw these very silly, crudely drawn comics, usually just to make my friends laugh during class time. But then when I left school and I started spending more time in Glasgow, that's when I realised that Glasgow had this really amazing little scene of people who weren't just making comics, but they were actually printing them and selling them and getting their work out there. And I thought, hey, I could do that too. So that's what I did. I started making these small press comics and zines, but after a while I started to realise that I was kind of the only woman around me that was doing exactly what I was doing. So I just thought it might be a fun little project to start an all-female anthology called Team Gill Comic. And the idea was that it was a sort of platform for women cartoonists in Scotland to share their short stories. And I really did think it would just last 1 or 2 issues, but more and more people got involved and it just grew and grew, and now we're working on our 12th issue. Making comics is an incredibly time-consuming process. I do spend a lot of my spare time writing and drawing, but one of my other big interests is wildlife and nature conservation. So I do try and spend a bit of time out in nature and try to incorporate it into my comics as well. So whether that's telling a daft little story about a rare species of bird, or trying to incorporate more serious messages, things about climate change or getting kids connected to nature. As well as publishing anthologies, Team Gill Comic is also a really big social group, and one of the things that we like to do is get together and make comic jams. So a comic jam is a collaborative, improvised comic. Everybody starts with the same random word, and then as quickly as you possibly can, you've got to write down and draw the first panel of a story based on that word. Once you've done that, you pass it on to the next person who'll do the second panel, and so on, until at the end of the day you've got all these different crazy stories, all based on the same word but completely different. It's just a really good creative exercise, and it's a lot of fun too. One of the biggest comic challenges I've ever undertaken is a 24-hour comic. So once a year, cartoonists all around the world challenge themselves to create a 24-page comic within 24 hours with no prior planning, and it's absolutely exhausting, but it's also amazing to see just what you can achieve in such a short space of time. Well, I do get people asking me quite a lot, how do I get started in comics? How can I make my own small press comics? And the only advice I can really give is just to keep making things and just keep doing stuff. And also not to worry too much about your first comic being perfect. In my view, comics are supposed to be DIY, and I think it's never been easier to get your work out there if you just have a little bit of confidence.